Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming back to the podcast. My special guest today is Leslee Altrock, who is the program director for the Let's Start Talking ministry. Leslie, good to have you on.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on.
Thank you. So recently, I was looking at the Christian Chronicles Facebook page, and I saw a story that they had done on your ministry, and I thought it was really interesting. In fact, actually interested in volunteering for the program myself. So I figured I'd have you come on. Yeah, I figured I'd have you come on and tell us a little bit about the ministry and how people can get involved. I know looking at the website a short time ago, it looks like it was formed in 1980. Can you kind of pick it up from there? Talk about the origins.
Yeah, absolutely. So Let's Start Talking has been around for 40 years. And I personally have been participating in projects going overseas since 1992. So that is where my involvement started. But the first 10 years we started, our founding director was Mark Woodward, who was a English professor at Oklahoma Christian at the time. But prior to that, he had been a missionary over in Germany, and he had done a lot of different kinds of short-term missions. But the thing that the people in Germany kept asking about was, can you help us with our English?
Mm.
So when he ended up back at Oklahoma Christian, he has an English degree and a Bible degree and communications. And so he was thinking, is there any way to use the desire that he was seeing in people overseas, but also share Jesus with them? And that is how LST got born. He recruited some college students to go to Germany and spend about 6 weeks. They had English conversation classes, and the philosophy is that the Word is the teacher and we are the illustration. And so we read a story. We start out in the book of Luke, read a story, and have a conversation about Jesus and about life. And so it started out as short-term missions where we were just sending teams internationally, first to Europe. Then with the fall of the wall in Eastern Europe, we sent a lot of teams to Eastern Europe. About that same time, we ended up in Asia and South America as well. And we found that the idea was able to transcend all of these places, and we were able to have good conversations. And so after sending for about 10 years, sending short-term mission projects, mainly through colleges, the question was, there's a lot of international people here in the United States. Can we do this here? And LSD started training churches, starting out at actually on a college campus, at a campus ministry, training some people to reach the college students. And then it's expanded to churches out of that. And so reaching our neighbors across the street using English conversation, and we call that friend speak. Okay. And then in 2020, when the pandemic hit, we started what we call is Let's Start Talking Connect, which is what the article was specifically about. And that is when we read online with someone who's in another country. And so that is a big part of our ministry now as well.
Okay. So I'm interested, why start in the book of Luke? Is there anything particular in Luke that starts as a good, I guess, starting point for these types of ministries?
Well, for us, you could start in lots of places, and lots of ministries have lots of reasons. For us, one of our founding scriptures came from the end of John, where it said, these words were written that you might believe. Mm-hmm. So we were thinking, is it possible to read the gospel story and find faith? So we knew we wanted to be in the gospels. And then we picked Luke. There were really two reasons. Luke is written to people who didn't walk with Jesus. So it's not to a Gentile, it's not to a Jewish audience, it's written to a Gentile audience. So that fits a little bit better with the audience that we're talking to.
Sure.
It's also very story based. There's lots of stories how Jesus interacted with people. And so that really helps with conversational English, because you can read these stories and then engage, what is happening here? What are these people feeling? And so you're talking, because we want to get past just talking about like in English class, you talk about what's the weather like, how do I order food, how do I go to the bathroom. We want to get past that and get to questions that really mean something to us. And we found Luke does that well. Also, at the very first lesson in Luke, Luke says that he was writing this because he wanted Theophilus to know the truth.
Mm,
And so if you're talking with someone who's a non-Christian, who absolutely, they're only coming for English, they have no desire to believe what we're reading, it would be easy to get into conflict.
right.
We can talk about it from Luke's perspective. We can say, okay, I understand that you don't believe this, but do you think Luke thought this was true? And what if Luke thought it was true? What's the implications for him? And then what happens as you read along, sometimes it's in Luke, sometimes it's in Acts, sometimes it's years later. They'll say, but usually, a few lessons in, they'll say, okay, you're different. You read this different than me. Why is that? And we can share, well, that's because I, like Luke, believe this to be true, and it has impacted my life because of that. So that's why we kind of ended up in the book of Luke. We also have other workbooks. We look at John. We have an origin workbook where we're looking at the first books of Genesis, but we believe that Luke and Acts are really great starting points for this kind of conversation because we're interacting with people usually in the very first steps of their faith.
Okay. Now, how many volunteers do you currently have that are participating in the kind of the online reading and English instruction ministry?
Yeah, so for Let's Start Talking Connect, last year we ended with 193 Connect workers. So, and that represented about 230 international friends.
Hmm. Okay. Now, are they strictly one-on-one? Is it one person from America and one person from another country, or can they be group sessions?
We prefer one-on-one if at all possible because what we have found with group is one, if whoever has the strongest English, that's going to be the person doing the most talking.
Mhm.
But when you're doing it one-on-one, then you have to work through it. Even if it's somebody with lower English, we keep trying to say words until we get some working vocabulary and continue with the lesson. So we prefer one-on-one because we feel like people, sometimes a reader will say, well, what answer do you want? And I'm like, I want an honest answer. I want to know really what you're thinking, not just what you think I want to hear.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do. And you can do that better when it's one-on-one. Sometimes when we go overseas, some of our trips do involve some group lessons, but if it's our preference, we're going to lean towards the one-on-one.
Okay. Now, for the people here that are going through the Connect program, are I know the English speakers are going to be screened and trained and stuff like that, but are the recipients going to be screened for as far as their proficiency in English and making sure you're matching them up with people who may know another language and maybe they can bridge that language barrier, or how are people matched up?
Mm-hmm. Um, Yeah, so we feel like a lot of God intervention happens in this. We're praying about it and everything. Basically, we do screen them. We do ask for them to write a few words like why do you want to participate in this program? So we can kind of see what their English proficiency is. If they only write in Portuguese or something, we'll try to have a conversation with them ahead of time to see, do you really, is this a beginner English or is this someone who can actually have a conversation? And then, really a lot of times it's availability. That ends up matching. We do try to match females with females and males with males as much as possible, just because reading online, it just feels like it's a better connection to do that. But but it's just amazing. So many times people will come back and say, I was just placed with the perfect person. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me about that. And it's all God. God puts people together who have because we don't know a ton about the readers. And the interesting thing is, we haven't even advertised in 2023. It was all done by word of mouth, and we kept a waiting list of probably about 20 people waiting almost all year. And that was because of our um, international friends telling their friends. So it's not something that we're having to advertise to get people to participate in.
Okay. And do you find that it's mainly maybe certain countries over others, or is it really all over the place on the other side of the globe, so to speak?
We do have a significant number of people in Brazil and Argentina. I think partly because we had a lot of connections there who did some initial advertising, and then that has been it's been easy to connect people because of the time difference that way. But we do have a significant group from Asia, a few people from China, Korea. We have a pretty big group from Vietnam that are not Vietnam, yeah, Vietnam, and then we have a few people in Europe that we work with as well.
Okay. Now I know I'd saw something about if you're interested in volunteering, there's a training and there's a fee that you pay for the training. What all is involved with the training?
Yeah, so the training is we offer it twice a month. We call it our basic training. It's 2.5 hours. We do ask for a $55 contribution to help offset the cost of staffing those trainings. That training is a one-time training. I mean, if somebody wants to attend it more, they can, but you attend it one time. But that training, what that does is give you all the basics for doing the actual conversation one-on-one. So if you were to do like an international trip with us, or if your church wanted to start this program, we would have additional training. But if you're going to do it one-on-one online, we do this basic training. And then once a month, this is included in there's no fee for this, we offer an advanced training. And what that advanced training is, we have a different topic each month. And it's just once you start reading with your one-on-one person, if you have any questions, you can come to that advanced training and talk about whatever that topic is. But also, that is a live training we do that's online, and it gives you access to our staff. We also give every Connect worker, we assign them to a Connect coach. And that person is a volunteer who has participated in Connect and maybe other aspects of Let's Start Talking, who is a support person. So we try to put several ways of support. Because we're doing it online, it's a little hard to always, yeah, we don't want people to feel like they're just out there by themselves. So we're trying to give them opportunities of support as they want it.
Okay. Now, I know that you're helping them to learn their English skills better, and you're using the Bible as a medium in which to do that, and you're also evangelizing to them. Is there a particular, I guess, faith point of view that LST is steered from? I mean, I myself am Church of Christ. I know Christian Chronicles is Church of Christ. Is there a particular religious slant on this, or is it just sort of really generalized?
Our organization has come out of the Churches of Christ. We are a nonprofit ministry, and we do work with lots of different denominations, uh, helping them reach out to international people in their communities. What we try to do is connect them. Like if you're working with someone online and they start asking questions about faith or wanting to be part of a Christian community, then we would use our contacts and see if we could find someone in that area that they could connect with. But like affiliation wise, I would say Church of Christ and Christian Church is the wheelhouse we walk in the most.
Okay. So anyone interested in volunteering, what sort of, I guess, biblical knowledge would they need? Would someone with a cursory knowledge know, or does it need to be someone who's fairly conversational, fairly strong in their faith, and could answer a lot of these questions that may come up, or does that matter?
So we believe the word is the teacher.
Hmm.
That's the big thing. So we're not coming saying you need to be a Bible scholar to do
Sure.
this. If you believe that Jesus is Son of God and you can speak English, you can do this.
Okay.
Because what you're going to be doing is we actually don't use the word student teacher. So you might have heard me refer to our international friends as reader. We do that because we believe this is us walking and reading the word, learning together. It's not I'm the teacher and this other person knows nothing. We can learn from each other. You're going to read these simple passages. These passages should be very familiar to most Christians. They're from the Gospels. And then if you end up with some questions that are more challenging, then you can bring those questions to us or your pastor to be able to answer. But it's okay to say, I don't know.
Hmm.
Like, I don't have that answer, but let's keep reading and see if we can together find the answer. Let's look outside or let's continue to use resources to find. So you do not have to be a Bible scholar because we're not asking you to be the teacher. We want you to be a good illustration of what you're reading. So that is what's important is your heart attuned to God? Um, can you say, look, I'm a fallen person, but I'm trying my hardest to um, follow what I've read here. And so what you do is as you're reading through, you share stories about how the things you're reading about um, have affected your life.
Hmm.
How you've seen God work in your life.
Hmm. Okay. Now, how long are the sessions? Let's say you get matched up, you go through the training, and you've got someone that you're paired up with. Are they a standard time frame, these interviews, or is it just as long as the conversation goes on?
We say usually you would do about 1 hour.
Okay.
You're going to do some small talk, getting to know each other. How's your week gone? Then you're going to read the passage, and then you're going to ask questions. And so you'll do one lesson each time, and between 45 minutes and an hour is
Mhm.
what you would spend doing that.
Okay. And is there a certain duration of time that you're working with each one of these individuals? Is it everyone starts off and is it 6 months and then you get someone new for 6 months, or how does that work?
Well, so we do have a longer term outlook, but the commitment is we would like you to at least finish a workbook. So our workbooks are about 13 lessons.
Okay.
And then at the end of that workbook, you can decide, do you want to continue or has your reader decided that that was what I wanted. I wanted to make a friend and that's it. Usually they'll want to go. So our Luke, to get through Luke, it's actually two workbooks with 13 lessons in each.
Hmm.
To do that, you would be committing to like a school year type
Okay.
commitment. A lot of people stay with them. Like I do have a Connect reader I've been reading with since 2020. We're just good friends, and we have two more books before we finish all our series. And so, but it's now like we're practicing our English. She still is needing some Christian community, so we keep exploring that. And we've just done a lot of life together. So
Hmm.
our once a week, it's been real special. But you don't have to make that kind of commitment. If you commit to a semester or two, if the reader wants to continue and you can't, then we'll reassign that reader to someone else who is participating. So
Okay. Now, technological requirements for this. Now, not everyone, has a multi-screen system that I have here, and lights and mics and cameras, and knows how to edit video and audio and all that kind of stuff. Probably most people don't know how to do that, but yet they are interested in this concept. They're interested in going out there and helping other people. Are there basic requirements and knowledge that people need to have before they get into this?
yeah, there is a technology aspect, obviously, if you're reading online. So you would need to have at least a maybe an iPad or a phone where you could do either Zoom or WhatsApp. I've been really using WhatsApp a lot. You now have the option of having multiple people on WhatsApp. And it's free and it's for as long as you want to talk, where Zoom has put their free version does have a 40-minute limit.
Hmm.
So we do a lot through WhatsApp and Zoom, but we'll help, like if somebody is more familiar with Skype, we can do that. If it's somebody who really doesn't feel very comfortable, a lot of times the reader is very comfortable and they will set it up. They'll send the link and say, here, this is where, let's connect here. So we've done that too with especially some people who are retired and maybe they only have their phone, and that's fine. It's possible to do.
Okay. Are there any checks on people who are wanting to get involved when they sign up for a volunteer? Is there any sort of cursory, tell us about yourself. We want to make sure you're not a financial someone convicted of financial crimes or something like that, because we all know these online scams, and you get to know people, and people can be manipulated and all that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
I know you can't prevent all that, but are there any sort of cursory checks on those types of things?
So with our workers, we do ask a few questions and we do ask for a reference
Hmm.
that just so that we know that you're who you say you are. With the readers, for the most part, we just really haven't had any issues.
Okay.
But every once in a while, we have had someone who kept like asking for a computer, asking for a phone,
Hmm.
constant things. And we just, explained, like they told us, we intervened and said, that's not the purpose of what we're doing in this. If that's going to continue, we'll have to stop these lessons. And we handled it that way.
Okay. Okay. Now, success stories. You said you've connected with someone for the last several years that you've been working with, and I know there's a bit of a testimonial on the web page itself. And can you talk about some personal experiences and how you've seen this help other people?
Yes, English improving people's English really does help them in lots of ways. And I don't think we appreciate that because we live in the English world,
Right.
um, and we can easily, go where we want to go. But for people in science, they have to know English, and so helping people with their English is such a commodity, and to offer it for free and to offer friendship and then Christian friendship. So, like, even just on Wednesday, I had lunch with one of our workers here in Fort Worth, and her reader, who is in Taiwan, had come to visit her. So they have been reading together for a year, and she came to visit. And as we were having lunch together, she said, "I've never had an idol before, but Margaret is my idol." And and I said, "Well, why do you say that?" And she said, "Margaret has helped me so much. She has encouraged me. She has been a friend to me, and I am just so grateful to our relationship." And that particular reader was already a Christian, so it's been more of a mentor relationship there. We've had several readers who have become baptized, and we've connected them to a local church. A few of the places that we have a lot of readers at, we actually send short-term mission teams. So, like, I got to go to Buenos Aires, Argentina, do a Let's Start Talking project, and that is where my Connect reader is. So I got to meet her, I got to meet her daughter, and it just really expanded we had a lot of time just to sit down and talk even more in depth than what we've done online, and that was beautiful as well. Um, there, there, there are lots of, you know, like we had one lady, one reader who said, I talk with you, and it was an older lady,
Hmm.
worker, and she said, I've talked with you more than I talk with anyone else, so you are my best friend.
Okay.
Things like that happen, and you're
Right.
like, wow, I mean, through the pandemic in Buenos Aires, they had one of the longest quarantines of any country, and we were the lifeline to some people. Now that we're past that, it's where we're helping with friendship. We're helping. We have a lot of younger people doing this with retired people. They're seeing them as mentors, and it's been really great to watch all that.
Hmm. Would you say that most people who are the readers, are they people of faith, or are they not believers? Most.
So we do not ask, are you a Christian
Okay.
when people register? We do not ask that. But what we have found is we have a big mix. We have several people who will say, I would love to do this and I'm totally okay reading the Bible, but I have no desire to become a Christian. And
Okay.
that's the kind of person we want to read with, if at all possible, because we're able to then just read the word and the word starts opening up to them. Because a lot of times people say that, but it's not because they've researched it and they've read it and decided absolutely I don't believe it. It's that they've seen things on the news that has discouraged them,
Sure.
or they've had some personal experience. But when you can sit down and read with them, but then there's times that we're reading with people, like my particular reader is a faithful. She's faithful. She believes in Jesus, but she has no church community.
Hmm.
And that's the thing I keep encouraging her. We've connected her with a lot of people. She's still not really connected yet, but I think she will in the future. You know, so now I forgot what the original question was, as I said
Just
all
the
that.
percentage of maybe believers to non-believers,
Oh
or
yeah,
most of the
yeah.
people.
So you get a big range, is what I'm trying to say. Yes.
Okay. Now, do you know ahead of time if you sign up to volunteer, do you know who you're being paired with as someone who is a believer or not?
Only if they put it in like the sentences they write. Sometimes they'll say, you know, I love reading the scripture or something like that. But most of the time, you learn that just
Okay.
talking with them. You know, tell me your history, where you know, as you're getting to know each other, those things naturally come up.
Because I can imagine if you didn't know that, maybe there's you kind of stumble on it in conversation. But maybe if you were thinking, okay, this person believes exactly the way I do, they just need help with their English. There's maybe a different approach to that than there would be someone who does not have a particular faith, and you would maybe adjust your presentation and adjust how you're communicating with them a little bit.
Yeah, that's all things that we talk about in this basic training,
Sure.
is how do you take, like, we start in the same place with everyone,
Mm.
but based on as you go through the lessons, as you get to know each other, then you can, you change your questions based on, you know, their English level, based on their faith level. All that becomes pretty clear as you go forward, how to do that conversation. Yeah.
Okay. So in conclusion, let's talk about the basic process. If people are listening to this, or they find your information through other sources, and they want to go forward, what do they need to do, and how long would it take from the time they, I guess, maybe send an initial inquiry email to the time they may be matched up and talking to somebody from another country?
Okay. Yeah, so you can go to Let's Start Talking at lst.org is our email address, or lst.org is our website. If you go to our website, you would click on to serve. It's in the right hand corner. Um, you you send an inquiry, you would get to talk to me. I am the program's director, so I would be the one you would talk to. I could give additional information, but then you just register online, and then you sign up for whenever you want to take the basic training. We normally offer it the first Thursday of the month and the third Sunday of the month. And sometimes we offer it on that Thursday is during the day, and most of the time it's in the evening. And that so you do that. Once you're registered, we try to have you assigned a reader within a week.
Hmm. Okay. So it's pretty quick turnaround once you get everything started.
Right. Now, sometimes it takes, the hardest part in this whole thing sometimes is making the connection with the reader, you know, like, because we'll give you the information, and for various reasons, they might not respond immediately. And so, but once you make the connection, you get started really well. So sometimes if maybe a reader's been on the waiting list for a while and they don't remember it, or maybe things have changed. So that is the part that we are constantly, you know, we're just trying to make sure that happens as quick as possible.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, Leslie, I appreciate you coming on and telling us all about LST and the different programs you have and your own experiences. And I would encourage anyone to inquire and see what they can do to help and spread the gospel and helping teach people more English.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Let's Start Talking. It has been such a blessing in my life to be able to have conversations with people who think differently than I do. And it's challenging, but it's so fun to just make friends with people around the world and have important conversations.